Welcome to the Strength Connection with me, your host, Michael Kurkowski. And in this podcast, I connect with some of the great coaches and leaders in the world of strength, whether it be physical, mental, or spiritual. My guest today is Dr. Robb Kelly. Robb is one of the great addiction recovery experts in the world, and his work with the Robb Kelly Group has a 97% success rate. So when I read about that and I read about him and his work, I had to get him to come on and talk about his work, particularly on the neuroscience and the subconscious mind when it comes to addiction and how to not just overcome this, but thrive afterwards. Dr. Robb's personal story is insane. How he went from a famous musician to being homeless for 14 months and how he's ended up where he is now. No joke, there are parts of his story that he shares in this episode. I can't even describe it. You'll have to just listen for yourself. So anyway, let's get rolling. And here is my conversation with Dr. Robb Kelly. All right, and we are live. Dr. Robb Kelly, welcome to the Strength Connection. Thanks so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Oh, God, goodness me. The pleasure's all mine, Michael. Great to be here. I was excited about this when Courtney sent it. I only get my day the night before, so when she sent it over last night, I'm like, quick Google, and then, yeah, awesome, man. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Yeah, no, your energy and the way that you approach life now, I think, is just so infectious. You know, it's like, it's those small things that I think, sometimes take for granted but from the work that you're doing with the Robb Kelly Group and everything now in, addiction recovery, but from the life that you had, I've just been really excited to hear your story and the work that you're doing. So, I mean, to kick this off, you have a line that I loved from one of your interviews where you said, "I used to dream of living and now I'm living the dream." And I thought that was a beautiful way to start, because the work that you're doing with the success rate of people that you help going through the addictive brain and recovery is really fascinating. But to start this, I wanted to know more about your life of getting to this point. So like going back into your time of music and then all the challenges that you went, how did this all start from you if wanted to get into, addiction therapy and, being a doctor and creating this group?
Yeah, it started, I took my first drink at the age of 9. I grew up in a musical family. So I was on stage at 9, playing with my auntie and uncle, playing bass. And I just always wanted to be famous. I always knew I was talented. I can play any instrument, doesn't matter what it is. If I've never seen it before, give me 5 minutes, I'll get a tune out of it, kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, we suffered badly in our family from alcoholism, but of course, nobody knew that, back in the days. I took my first drink, and it kind of progressed over the years from there. And the point for me pertaining to the alcoholism was, nobody could tell me what was going on. Nobody could tell me how to stop, what the medical side and the neuroscience behind this was, because even today, medical fraternity is baffled of what's really going on. That's why we have a 98% success rate. I'm either all in or all out. I have one of them brains that I'm going to do it or I don't touch it. But if I do it, I'm going to do it to the best. End of story. So I did all the music thing. But when I got off the street, I was angry at the pharmaceutical industry. And this is early days, and I just knew they were bad people. But basically in the medical fraternity, that kept saying things like, "Well, just go to AA, we'll just stop drinking. And you've got 2 children at home, Rob, the babies, why do you keep drinking?" And I couldn't. And everything else, like I was a bodybuilder, a fighter. I mean, I'd take anybody down. I'll still take anybody down at 64, because I had to, I don't know. But this kept knocking me down every time, and I couldn't understand it. So that was my life's mission about, I don't know, 20 years ago, that I'm going to find out what's going on, and I'm going to cure addiction. I'm going to cure depression, anxiety. We're having a bash at Alzheimer's right now. And definitely arrest alcoholism, because alcoholics are born and drug addicts are made. So yeah, that's how I got to where I was today. I have a passion. I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about me, and I'm going to get shit done. And that's about it, really. I have a beautiful family, beautiful dogs and stuff with me. But yeah, I'm sick of watching people dying, Michael, from lack of knowledge of what's really going on. Alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism. Same with drugs. And everybody if I just stop drinking, we put you in a treatment center 30 days, at least you'll be 30 days sober. What the hell has alcohol got to do with this? 1%, that's all.
Yeah.
And here we are today.
This was a personal thing for you of going through this yourself before you started really helping people. And as you mentioned, everybody's kind of go on like, oh, it's just the willpower, the discipline. Look at everything you have to live for. Like, why don't you just stop from there? And as you said, you couldn't. What was that time like for you? Was it a frustrating time of like trying to figure this out, or was it more you couldn't even listen at that moment because you were so kind of deep into it?
Well, after 14 months on the streets, after dying twice on the streets and bringing me back to life, the medical guys, I still didn't think I had a problem. That was the deal. I was still in this denial that I'm going through a rough period, everything will be okay. But yeah, I mean, it was the weirdest thing. You see, I knew I was living on the streets. I knew I'd lost everything. I knew that when I called my wife, she wouldn't answer, or she'd put the phone down, my mom and dad and everything. And I went and ran to the house, they'd call the police straight away. I knew all that, but I didn't think it was alcohol. I just thought it was a bad period of my life that I'm going to pull out any second, like any week. I'll be on the streets for 2 weeks, and it never did. And of course, the way the brain and pathways and the subconscious brain works, life became comfortable on the streets for me. You know,
Mhm.
I have the addictive personality. Wherever you put me, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to bring something. I'm going to survive. That's the word. I'm going to survive wherever you put me, and that's what
Yeah.
I did.
What was the transition, or was there a moment for you when this shifted? Like, when was it when you finally like said enough is enough, or like found that approach to go in a different direction in your life?
For me, it's like a Monday morning, like 2 or 3 o'clock a.m. I was at the back end of Manchester, which is just offices and factories. No people are there. Not one person can be seen between, I don't know, 10 and 6 in the morning. And I'm rumbling around there. I'm coming out of another, bad drinking episode. I'm hungover, my head's banging. It was pouring down with rain. It was pitch black. And I dropped down to my hands and knees and I started to cry like a baby. Now, the cry from the stomach is what was happening. Now, the crazy thing is, Michael, as I wasn't crying because I'd lost my children and my wife, and I was crying right there and then because still gets me. I realized that I couldn't stop drinking. I looked up to the sky as an atheist, and all I said was, if there's a God up there, I can't do this on my own anymore. 30 seconds later, a guy walked around the corner. His name was Derek. He said, "Hey, man, you doing okay?" I'm like, "No, I'm an alcoholic. I'm dying." So he says, "Come back to the house. I'm going to look after you." So that's what we did. And it turns out that Derek had missed his last bus home from Bible study. He'd been walking a couple of hours. He took a shortcut he's never taken before because he's never walked home before. And he came across me. So, and that's like this much of the strange spiritual
No
thing.
way.
So he takes me back to his house. I'm eating proper food and got bathed. I put some clothes on that he had a bit too small, but I put them on. And he sat me down and he said, "Rob, I'm in recovery myself. I was homeless. I got myself back on the feet, and I want to tell you something now. As giving back to God, you can stay here for as long as you want, man, until we get you back on your feet under one condition. You've got to come to these AA meetings with me." Well, I've been to them meetings and I've tried it, and it's just old men talking about war stories. I said, "Derek, I don't like this." "Rob, it's a firm one. I can't have you drinking in my house, period." So I said, "Okay, I'll go." And I hate it, man. The next day off, we went in his car, and I'm like, da 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 da. And no, not his car. I don't know why I said that. It hit the bus. We got on the bus. We went to Amy. Later on, he got the car. And I'm sat in this meeting, Michael, and I was just dreading every second of it. I'm like, here we go again, war stories. Here we go again. It's a dry bed for the night, guys. So I'm going to do it. Halfway around the meeting, because we sit in a circle in AA meetings in AA England. This guy said, "Hey, my name's John. I'm a recovered alcoholic." And my head turned towards him, and I said to Derek, "What did he just say? Did he say recovered?" He said, "He did." I've never heard. Now I've got a resentment against John. Okay. Like, you can't be recovered. I've just lost everything. And you're telling me you can get over this shit. But when he talked, Michael, he talked from what's called the big book in AA, and he broke it down. And all of a sudden it started making sense. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy's onto something. So after the meeting, I went over. I said, "Hey, John, my name's Rob. Will you sponsor me?" And he said, "Hey, Rob, no, I'm not going to sponsor you." He said, "But I will be your spiritual advisor for 12 weeks. Well, I thought that was weird. Okay, so we chatted it out of the coffee machine, and on Wednesday at 7 p.m. was my time with him. It was walkable from Derek's house, so I could get there. I left at 6, got there for 7 to his apartment, could not knock at 5 to 7. It had to be 7. I had to guess he was into time and stuff. And at 1 minute to 8, during mid conversation, he'd get up and he'd put my hand around, he walked me to the door, and he bid me a good night and closed the door at 8 p.m. I walked home and got there for 9. Did that 12 times, Michael. On the last day, he said to me, Rob, you're a prophet. God's got plans for you, and tomorrow your life's going to change. And I said, Derek, John. I'm living in Derek's house. I'm living on a block mattress in the basement. I said, no, but nobody knows I'm there, John. He smiled at me and closed the door. The very next day, around 11 o'clock, Derek come through the door, and I'm like, what are you doing home this time? He said, Rob, and he knows nothing about what John said. Rob, there's a part-time job at the factory. The guy sweeping the floors just resigned. Do you want a part-time job? And I'm like, oh my God, yes. Turned into a full-time job that week, Michael, because of my personality. And then about 2 weeks after, we got our first pay packet, which was cash stapled to an envelope back in the day. I got the cash. I'm so excited to go and see John because everything he said was coming. I'm working with people. They're getting well in a short period of time, not like 2 months and years to get well. So I went to the gas station. I bought him a little teddy bear. That's all I could afford in a card. And I wrote on the card, thank you, John, for introducing me to God because he, capital H, took the compulsion away to drink. And I went back and I couldn't wait to get there, Michael. And I got to his apartment and knocked on the door and I knocked on the door and I knocked on the door. There was no answer. And the woman on the right hand came out. He said, hey, love, can I help you? I said, yeah. John hasn't moved, has he? He said, John who? I said, John who lives here. And she said, oh, I'm on night shift. I'm not seeing anybody there. I said, okay. I went around to the other side, knocked on that door. Big guy came to the door. What do you want? So where's John? Has he moved or something? He said, John who? I said, John, your neighbor. He said, leave me alone. I said, well, has he moved or is he still there? That's all I need to know, man. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I said, what's going on? And he said, if you walk in that house, I'll bust that door open. There used to be yellow tape all over it. You can walk in that house right now, it's derelict, and you will fall 3 flights to your death. I don't know what you're talking about. We'll stop wasting my time. And he slammed the door on me. And I'm thinking, I have the right place, okay? So I goes back to the meeting where I'd met John, and I walked in, and the chairman went, Rob. I said, thank God for that. It wasn't a dream. And we hugged and whatever. And I said, hey, does John still come here? And he said, John who? And I said, the guy where it was at the coffee machine talking this out. And he said, oh my God, Rob, we thought you were praying. You were talking to yourself. We've never found that man. But what he taught me then beats any of this because that's what I teach today. And that's, I believe, and I swear, is the reason I have a 98% success rate. When I started to get successful and a little bit more wealthier, I hired the best detective agency in Manchester when I got over here, and they could have no trace of John. And nobody's ever found him, and nobody's ever heard of him since.
Oh my gosh.
And that's the turnaround. Yeah, and I won't tell that story for 10 years, Michael, because I just did feel no one's going to believe me. But when I did, though, Michael, the amount of people, oh my God, I've had a similar thing. Well, kind of. And they tell me their story. And then I got more comfortable about telling my story. But yeah, everything we do is we are nothing like any treatment center. We are nothing like anybody in the industry. We're 20 years ahead from what we're doing to anybody else. Treatment centers don't like me and I don't like them. And that's a great bond we have together. But yeah, we have something different here, Michael. And we've been doing this over 20 years with 11,000 patients.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to sit with that for a second. That is an incredible story on there. I mean, there's so much in there, from the surrender and from when you said you didn't believe that you could till this whole journey that went through. But I'll let that be what it is. Going forward though, with 97, 98% success rate, which is really unheard of when you look at the stats about what is like the global, remission for addicts in here. How have you come up with tell me about this approach that you have gone into? Like, how have you got to this phase where it's getting such a success rate from the tactical side of it into the bigger picture of it? How did this all come about, Dr. Robb?
Well, first of all, again, we're not like treatment centers. Me and you could call a therapist or a treatment center right now, live on air. We could call them. and we say, I feel terrible, I'm suffering from alcoholism, they're going to ask you one question: do you have insurance? That's it. We don't do that. You have to pass a strict assessment before we take you on. You have to be in a place where you will do anything that we say with mommy's money or whatever to come here and make sure. So the assessment is first. Secondly, we interview, let's say it's a man and wife. We interview the guy, the assessment, and then we go out to the wife and we bring the wife in. Now, the man does 7 days a week, 1 hour a day via telehealth or in one of our offices. And the wife has to come on for 2 days a week. Now, why is that important? When the wife of the alcoholic comes on 2 days a week and works on her stuff, the success rate of the alcoholic goes up by 42% alone. So we don't let the wife bash the husband. The wife is suffering from PTSD. Now, everything I'm going to talk about today, guys, we've tested. We spent $1.5 million over the last 19 years making sure that our research is perfectly and accurate and results. We tested 5 housewives in alcoholic violent houses, and we tested 5 soldiers coming back from Afghanistan. The PTS levels were exactly the same, which tells us, yeah. So it's like having 2 houses, yeah. You've got the main alcoholic house here, and let's say this is a treatment center here. What normally happens is we go in and we pick the alcoholic and we put him in a treatment center. Now, recovery has its own language. Let's say this house where he come from spoke English, but the treatment center in the different language teaching him German. By the time he comes out, he's fluent in German. So we pick him up, we put him back in the English-speaking house, and guess what? He's going to start speaking English again. Both parties need to be speaking German. So when this guy's doing his work and the wife is doing her work on your own, nobody can mention each other. It's like swimming to your own rafts, and we pull you back in together. That's a huge difference. We don't take any shit. We don't play them mind. Well, if you do that, I'll come. No, we're not interested. I tell patients and parents blatantly, I don't give a shit whether you come on board or not. I really don't. But if you do come on board, you're my deal, and I'll 100% get you right. And you know something? If you relapse while following our program, I will refund your money. Only people in the world that does this. I'll refund your money because we are so. I only take on 4 patients every 3 months, but my staff have 50, 60 patients to look after. I am so confident with our program. Subliminal messaging, medical grade red light therapy, breath box, 9-dimensional software that blows people's minds, absolutely repairs in minutes. We've got the NLP, we've got semantics, we've got all these tools that we do, and we understand how the brain works. When you start programming people, forget the alcohol. Everybody wants to concentrate on the alcohol. Why? I remember stood outside a liquor shop. Alcoholics and addicts, you're going to love this. I'm stood outside a liquor store. It's 5:30 in the morning. The liquor store doesn't open till 10 a.m. I'm dressed in a vest, pair of shorts, flip-flops. It's snowing and I'm sweating profusely. And I know quite well I'm going into what's called DTs, delirium tremens. And if I don't get alcohol in my body or hospital and probably the next 30 minutes, I'm going to fit and I'm going to seize and I'm going to die. This Pakistani man, God bless him, he always used to open the door at 5:30. I can't even together. That's how bad it was. And I walked in this day. This is where it changed for me. Put on the counter, and I couldn't even speak that bad. And he put the bottle, and on this occasion, only God knows why, this is my reaction with the bottle. Headache stopped, sweat stopped, instantly good mood. Or I'm not hoping the bottle. I just got the bottle in my hands. And I remember in slow motion, Michael, I looked at the shopkeeper and I looked back to the bottle and I went, holy shit, it's not about the alcohol. That was the game changer for me. The alcohol is not what it is. So when we started building a business, I wanted more evidence. So we got 5 people constantly relapsing, not real alcoholics, not going to die, but constantly relapsing, trying to get well. And we said, hey, next time you feel you're going to relapse or whatever, call us. We don't want to age you, but hey, can we pick you up, put the things on and take you to the liquor store or dealer and we'll pay for everything. We're just not going to participate. We'll drop you back off. And they all said, Rob, brilliant. And I said, I hope it never happens, but I need to do research on this. And sure enough, 3, 4, 5 eventually came on, and we did that. We picked them up at their apartment or house. We took them to the dealer or liquor store, and then we dropped them back off. The most intoxicating part of that journey was the drive to the dealer or the drive to the liquor store. So it's more evidence this is not about the alcohol. And then we got into the neuroscience, and we learned all about the hypothalamus. When you hear about the hypothalamus, it's a freaking game changer.
Can you
And that's why we're
explain
speaking to Robert
can you
Kelly.
explain and dive into that a little bit more on that? If like as you said, like it's not about the alcohol. It was like as soon as the bottle's in your hand, and then the anticipation is really almost like the big piece of the addiction, not just the
Yeah,
substance from here. What is actually from a neuroscience lens did you find out that's going on in that process? Because I think this is really interesting and not talked about.
100%. And the reason why it's not talked about, and if I come over a bit braggy, I'm confident, guys. That's all I am. Sick of watching people die. So I knew there was something happening in the brain in alcoholics than no other addiction in the world. I knew for a fact because of my own experience. So we've teamed up with plenty of scientific labs and medical fraternities for our tests and trials and research. And this is what we found. We've traced alcoholic genes back to fetus level. Nobody wants to hear that. Why? There's no money in recovery. They can't give you a pharmaceutical pill or stick you in treatment. You're not good to anybody. So it was really hard doing this. So we found that alcoholics are born and drug addicts are made. So alcoholics have what's called a predisposition. We're also allergic. There's an allergy going on. We're allergic to the ethanol, we found out. Not so much the alcohol, but the ethanol in alcohol. And the three parts of the brain that differ are the hypothalamus, basal ganglia, and the amygdala in alcoholics, not drug addicts. We'll get into that in a second. So we did some more research. What we found is the basal ganglia, and I don't expect everyone's going to understand, so I'm going to break that down. The basal ganglia, if you can imagine a clock, it's our repetition, strengthen, confirms part of the brain. The more we do something, the more we're easier. Driving a car for the first time, after a few weeks, pass your test, reverse down the driveway, talk to your mom, wave at the girlfriend, listen to him, all at the same time, because it's become a working part of the mind. So it goes from the basal ganglia into a rooted neural pathways in the brain. What we found with the alcoholic is it's set at a default. So when the hypothalamus jumps in and hijacks the brain, which it does, what happens is this. 12 o'clock, we go into treatment or we try and get sober. 10 after, we come out, everything's looking good. 1:30, the wife lets me back in the house. The kids love me again. I'm trying my best. At 22 the hour, I get that job offer, or I get that great news, or I get that opportunity. And at 10 to the hour, we smash it all down again. That's a direct correlation to childhood trauma. We're never good enough. We're never tall enough, blonde enough, all that stuff. And we relapse. That has to be repaired with the work we do. Let's talk about the big one. The hypothalamus is our survival part of the brain. It teaches us from birth that we have to. It is vital and a working part of the mind that we need to drink water and eat food to survive. It's a natural, basic survival instinct. That's the hypothalamus. At a certain point of the alcoholic's career or drinking career, over the years and years, it might be 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, the hypothalamus switches and turns on the brain and hijacks the rest of the brain. And it tells the alcoholic that if you don't drink alcohol, you're going to die. This is why, A, we can go days or weeks without food or water. B, nothing else matters. No matter love for your children, no matter love for the wife, nothing. You might have the best job, nothing. Because my brain is telling me I have to drink alcohol to survive. And that's why wives and jobs and everything, we're not concentrating on them. And that's where we start to do damage to other people. The amygdala is just that storage for trauma or part of it. That keeps repeating. Ask an alcoholic, give me one thing that was great in the past. They're going to think for a couple of minutes, then come out with something. Ask an alcoholic, give me some bad time. Well, it was this time, they're straight in. Because if we have 10 memories and one of them's bad, but 10 of them are good, we're going to go for the one that's bad. The subconscious brain is going to self-sabotage. So we wake up in the morning with a subconscious brain because of lack of oxygen. There's hardly any oxygen. Wake up at between 2 and 5 is our lowest ebb when the body is at full repair. So we wake up with no oxygen or hardly any inside. The subconscious brain is the bad guy, okay? But it thrives on hypoxic situations. So this guy wakes us up. If you don't do your morning work that we teach you, this guy's going to run the day. This guy wants to kill you and make it look like an accident. He's going to jump on anything that goes wrong that day and make a mountain out of him, a molehill out of him, all that stuff. This is the guy. We do our morning work and all of a sudden we've snuffed out the subconscious brain. Now the conscious brain is running the show. Again, deep neuroscience guys, track, test is, it's not bullshit I'm talking. Now the conscious brain's running the show with the oxygen work and the mirror work and teeth work that we do. This guy's good, man. This guy, you can achieve anything you want him in the world. But remember this bad guy? It's in the background all day looking for the smallest thing to go wrong, and it will snatch that. So when people come home and go, do you know something? I've had a real bad day today. We say, was it really a bad day? Or was it 5 minutes that you've strung out all day? It's the 5 minutes because of the subconscious brain. We've got to stay out of that. And one of the reasons we do is everything is now. Not in and out. Everything is living, happiness, now. It's nothing else. So if you're worrying about the past, depression, if you're fretting about the future, it's anxiety and stuff like that. You have to live in the now. And by treating that 3 parts of the brain in everything that we do, we can cure addiction, 100%. And then we can arrest alcoholism, because there's no cure for alcoholism because we're born this way, but there's no cure for the common cold or food poisoning. But there's a few simple rules you follow to make sure you know. I've never had food poisoning from the first moment I got it, when the doctor says, don't do this, don't do that. Never had food poisoning ever since. We look at it the same way alcohol. Now, the drug addict is the addictive personality. How do we know this? Well, one of the tests we've done is about 92% of patients that come to us with a drug addiction started in the doctor's office. So it's that, we take, we get used to it, we take more, and all of a sudden we get cut off, we go to the streets. Okay, they're both just as bad. They're both just as horrible to come off. The pain and the suffering and the actions and the behavioral science behind it is exactly the same. Okay, but when a drug addict or alcoholic gets well, when we take them into that permanent solution, they are the smartest guys in the room by far. And that's what we've researched is I only hire recovered or ex-alcoholics and addicts, period. Well, you can't do that. Fucking says who. It's what I do. Because you have to have experience. You have to have gone through what we've gone through to understand what a patient is going through, because we are not like any other people. We think different. We act different. We have the choice to whether we drink has been taken away from us. So when people say just stop for your kids, we'd love to do that, but you can't. So if you have a real alcoholic, not a heavy drinker or someone who abuses, but the real alcoholic, trace it back in 3 generations, stuff like that. When you take the first drink, can you stop? All these questions we ask. Once we get rid of all that, you go on to create empires. Most of the guys that are making movies right now or leading the NFL, all that stuff came through this program, because we don't get well to just get well. We need to change the world.
Why, as you said, like they're the smartest people in the world, and that's why you hire from there. Is that from the experience of going through it, so there's firsthand knowledge on it, or is there something even deeper in the neurology of the addictive brain? That, because that's one of the things that I heard you say, which I thought was fascinating. You said the addictive brain is, we look at that only as such a negative thing of like all the bad things that can happen. But if you have the addictive brain, you also have the capability of, if you put your mind to anything, you can accomplish anything. Is that kind of on the same lens of what you're talking about with these are the smartest people once they get into recovery?
Yeah. You've got to be smart and clever and intelligent to work around alcoholism and drug addiction to make sure nobody finds out. Secondly, we are brilliant people. We really are. That's been dumbed down and dumbed down and dumbed down. Once you have, sit down and get ready, guys. Once we change the way the brain patterns and the neural pathway diversion away from self-sabotage, once we go back and we clear your childhood trauma, which everybody has, and if you don't think you have, you probably have the worst, because the subconscious brain is hiding this stuff for you so you don't go insane. Okay. your DNA changes. And when your DNA changes and you study in the sunlight of the spirit and in the now, you can see things for what they've always been. Like all these opportunities that people get when they come here. Oh my God, I've got this job offer. Oh my God, I'm dating this. It was always there. It was always there. So you just haven't seen them before because you're tied up in all the repetition of that, you know, past and, father saying you're never good enough, you'll never be anyone. And so subconsciously, if we go for a job and we're in the final two, we probably won't get that job if you've not done your childhood trauma. Okay. Because somewhere in the subconscious, your behavior will show that your dad was right, that you'll never amount to anything. Who do you think you are sat in this room with this guy? This guy went to college. You didn't. Don't be an idiot and make a fool of yourself. And we self-sabotage it. Same with relationships. Same with, everything that we do. And we stay in relationships way too long because we're fearful of coming out because we'll be on our own. All this stuff that's playing into the conscious and subconscious brain, when all that is cleared up, you really understand that you really can do anything you want. And two things I'll say. I'd hate anybody to get to the age of 70 or 80, look back to when you were 20 and 30 and realize there was nobody watching and you really could have done anything you wanted to do, because that's a travesty. And let's forget political views. I'm not into politics. I've never done anything for me. I don't care. But 8 years ago, we cannot run away from the fact that we had a businessman running the country with no political experience whatsoever. Don't dare tell me you can't achieve your dreams. It's not true. Somebody's put that there.
I think we talk a lot about the subconscious mind and how powerful it is, and so like the awareness of it I think is very prevalent, but as you said, actually changing your subconscious thought and your DNA can change from there. The question I have on that is, one, how do we do that? How do we actually like approach that from a practical setting? Because I think it's one thing to be aware of like, this is what happened in my childhood. This is the reason why it's there. And I think that's very powerful to have. But then the approach to actually making that shift and doing it on a day by day basis is very different. And I think of this as, I've been in like the fitness and strength world for 17 years, seen it from people who say they want to get in shape and say they want to work out, but never actually, change. We're aware of the reasons why we get to a stage, but then actually put into practice how to make these changes. How do you approach that with the people that you're working with? And then how long does it really like take to see that change start to shift in somebody so they can thrive?
1 hour with me and you'll start to change. Or 1 hour with my guys, you'll start to change. I've just lost 150 pounds over the last 18 months as I got back into training and stuff like that. This is what we found. 300 neural pathways die in the brain every day. 300. The big question is, what are you replacing that with? Are you replacing them with old thought patterns, old behavior, and the past that's still haunting you? In that case, you'll never move. So we get these ideas, we get these ideas of, I mean, if I'm sat on the couch tonight or the sofa, I've got a big bag of chips, don't eat them. Big can of Coke, don't drink it. But let's say I did. The wife's next to me, okay? We've got the two dogs and the cat mulling around. I see Arnold Schwarzenegger come on the TV. And I get all back to my bodybuilding days. And I turn to my wife and say, you know something? Thinking of going to the gym tomorrow. I ain't going to the gym tomorrow. I know it. She knows it. The dogs know it. And even the cat whispers by going, yeah, dude, you're not going to the gym tomorrow. So we created this 7.3 second golden rule. Is when we come up with an idea to go to the gym, for instance, I have to put everything down right there and then, walk into the bedroom, sneakers, shorts, vest, take that bag, put it near the door I'm walking out or in the passenger seat of the car. And there's a 9 chances out of 10 that you'll go to the gym. You see, the imagination and these conscious brain is like, yeah, I'm going to go. But you have to start building them neural pathways to go there. So by doing this straight away and going, you've started the neural pathways to the gym. And I know this might sound crazy to some people. You've started it. And it's easy to pick up already thought patterns in progress than it is no patterns at all. And this also goes back to when we relapse. With alcoholics and addicts, we have a set of neural pathways. Pathways are thought patterns, guys. And synapses is the connection which gets all excited and passes it on to the next neural pathway. We build neural pathways up, okay, about drinking and self-sabotaging drug. So when we get clean, so let's say the neural pathway is fully established. Like, so here's the neural pathway fully established. Now, for drinking. Now, I am English, just in case you thought, guys, I was from East Texas. So we drive on the opposite side, the wrong side, and the steering wheel's so I go back to England, right? And all of a sudden, I'm trying to learn the right, left, right. Okay. So what happens to my American driving neural pathways is they do this because I'm not using them.
Right.
Okay. So they don't go away. Okay. So when I come back to America, it might take a minute, an hour, whatever. I have to start building the neural pathways so I can do the driving over here. Okay. Here's the interesting part. With alcoholics, this is what happens. We build the neural pathways for the self-sabotaging drinking. And then we all of a sudden get sober, or somebody gets into treatment, and we stay there like for 3 months. And we come out and see the neural pathways, they haven't reduced. So if you do relapse, you're relapsing from here and not down here. So you don't have to build no neural pathways to drive. You are straight back to where you started off again. That's how powerful the pathways and self-sabotage are working with addicts and alcoholics. So unless you do the intense work, which is the childhood trauma and all the tools that we use, the behavior, we're very big on subliminal messaging. Okay. If you don't use subliminal messaging in your treatment, and you don't clear childhood trauma up, and you have real alcoholics in your care, they're going to relapse. End of story. Go drink. Please, you're wasting your time. Oh, you can't say that. I can. Let's get serious. The only reason why I do this is I'm sick to death of people giving the wrong information. Well, I heard this in the treatment center. Hey, there's 20 of us here, guys. I'm telling you, by this time next month, 10 of you would have relapsed. What does my brain tell me there? That's me. That I am that. But when you start to convince people with subliminal messaging, they react. How do we know this, Mike? Well, years ago, before I came to America, we did a testing around that. And I believe it's done before, but we don't care done before. We want to do it ourselves. Went to a friend of ours that was a headmaster at a school between the ages were like between 8 and 11 or 8 and 10 or something. I think there was 20 kids there in his classroom. And we told him and convinced him that we have created a test. And this was years ago, Michael. We created a test. It's a written test with 20 questions. And we can give it to your young kids, pupils. And then we can go away and come back next day and tell you who the 3 top people are in your school, who's going to go on to be very successful, captains of industry. And they said it's impossible. And I said, well, give us a go. See what the parents think. Everybody was on board because it was a bit of fun. So the next day we went down and gave all these test papers out. 20 minutes later, they all come back. Brilliant. And then we came back the next day. We said, here is your top 3. Jimmy. And these are not the real names. Jimmy, the headmaster's Jimmy. Yeah, Jimmy. Okay. Billy, and Julie. Okay, well, I'm telling you, man, these are the 3. We'll be back in 1 year's time. Please don't contact us. We will not contact you. We're back in a year's time to find out how our prize students are going. The 3 people are going to change the world. And they said, okay, great. Thanks, Dr. Robert. Great. And off I went. A year to the date, me and my guys went round. The headmaster was waiting for us at the gate. And as we're parking, he's like trying to open. You will not believe what I'm going to tell you. And I said, the 3 students have become, oh my God, we need to call the government up right now because what you have is this is unbelievable, Rob. You have to tell me what went on. So we did. We said when we collected all the exam papers in on the way home, we'd throw them all in the trash can. And then at night time, we said, give me 3 random names of the 3 kids in the school. And he come up with 3 random names. And we come back the next day and we told you that the 3 people that you didn't think was going to amount to anything were going to be geniuses and captains of industry. And because you treated them that way, so they become the power of the mind and the power of how people treat you. So I don't let anybody disrespect me. I have a very close circle of people that believe in what I do and vice versa, that are always lifting me up and vice versa, because what people tell you is what you become.
Yeah.
And that's 100% true. Guys, you can do you want to earn $1 million? It's not hard. Stay insane while you do it. That's a different story. But you literally can do anything you want to do. Stop caring about what people think about you. Nobody cares. They've got their own shit going on. And start moving up. If you're earning 40,000 a year and you want to earn 80, you have to hang around the guys that are earning 80 grand a year. In fact, we know that. So we did a test in our reception. We wanted to see how 9 people could change one within 20 minutes, but 1 people can't change 9 in years. So we got 9 actors in my waiting room and we told them this: drink coffee, we'll give you $100. Every time you hear a buzzer, 45 seconds, I want you to stand up and sit down. We'll call one of you each as if you're patients. We have one person there who's a lady, kind of a friend of ours. She's coming in for a free breath box, 9-dimensional breath box, and she's excited. She came in, the stage was set. We're looking at the cameras. 9 people stood up. Girl's on her phone. She looks up. She looks down. They sit down again after a few seconds. The 9 people stood up. Now she puts her phone down and she's looking around. Sit down. The third buzzer. So now we're into 3 minutes. 3 minutes, guys. Third buzzer. She stood with everybody else and she sat down with everybody else. Okay, learned behavior and transmissional behavior. We called the patients in one by one until she was the only person left in the room. She stood up. Show me your friends. I'll show you your future. If you're getting well from addiction and you're hanging around the guys that haven't gone well, you're going to relapse. Well, that's a bit harsh. I don't give a shit. I'm telling you the truth. Okay? You have to change everything around you and you have to be the person and start acting the person that you want to be. Because then how do we know this? Well, we take patients who are starting to build business, and we take them to the Porsche dealerships. They've got no chance of driving one of those right now. It's crazy. And then we take them to the $1 million houses, and we get our realtor friends to show them round $1 million houses, and they come on. We start working and working. All of a sudden, they start getting wealthy. They start getting, building business or getting famous. And what happens is with the brain, because it's been preempted for that Porsche 911, is when they go to the dealership, the brain doesn't go, that's a $200,000 car. The brain goes, I remember this. This feels comfortable to us. And off we go.
I love that. It reminds me, do you ever hear the parable of the man who got the wrong SAT score?
Yes.
This is my favorite
Yes,
story.
so
Yeah, it was a
good.
young guy who was like 15 years old and he was like told he was going nowhere and started hanging out with the wrong group of kids, kind of going out doing drugs, but he promised his mom that he would graduate high school, and she was single mom. She was like working 3 jobs, so really didn't have time to do it. But his guidance counselor said, well, you have to take the SATs. It's like, if you're going to graduate high school, like, you have to take the SATs. And he reluctantly signed up for the test and went in, did the test, didn't study for it, whatever, just went in, took the test. A couple weeks later, after not really changing anything, still hanging out with his loser friends, comes home and his mom opens up the letter and she's got tears in her eyes. And he looks and he's like, first he thought, he's like, oh my God, who died, right? And she like goes over and she wraps his arms around him and she's like, oh my God, why didn't you tell me this? And he goes and looks at the paper and it's his SAT scores and he got a 1550. It's like the, top one, like number 1 in the school, top 1% in the country. Guidance counselor calls him in. It's like, oh my God, like, I can't believe that you did this. And he starts thinking to himself, like, oh, maybe I'm smarter than I think. Maybe if I go to class a little bit more, I might actually be able to do pretty well. And ends up going to class. He gets into college, out in the skin of his teeth, goes, graduates, builds his own law firm. 10 years later, he's got this beautiful home. He's got like 20 employees that work for him. He's built this life, and he gets a letter, and it's from his old high school. Apparently, they made a mistake where like 3 kids in the school got the wrong SAT. He actually got a 750 on his test, not a 1550. And then the message behind it, well, did he actually get a 750 or did he get a 1550? Because he lived his life believing that he was the guy that was capable of 1550. I always love that story of just perception and perspective. Whether it's true or not, if you believe it, that is going to change the course of your life.
Correct. It's, if you believe, the brain doesn't know the difference between the truth and the false, the reality and non-reality. The brain doesn't know the difference. So if you start acting a certain way, believing that, you will become. And this is what people get lazy when we tell them this. It's like, yeah, of course it's that easy. I mean, it really is that easy when you think about the knowledge and the neuroscience, the epigenetics. and the quantum physics around how the brain and the mind works. Like literally anything is possible, but you have to take a step forward. You can't stay where you are and dream these things. 7.3 seconds. Step forward. If you want a job that you never thought of having, you might have it. Go do it. Get on the internet now and get that email address. Don't wait until tomorrow, because tomorrow never comes. Do it now. It's all in the now. It's all in right now. What you believe, your internal dialogue, will make you or break you. What people tell you from outside to you, the dialogue that comes into you from other people, is what you will believe. I was at Dallas for 14 years, and I said to my guys around me, hey, listen, guys, thinking of writing a book. If you can't write a book, an author, that'd be silly. I said, oh, okay. No, one actually said to me, no one's going to read your book, Rob. It's just your story. Never wrote a book. Came to San Antonio 4 years ago. I got a new set of friends. I said, hey, I'm thinking of writing a book. Oh my God, you haven't wrote a book? What is wrong with you? And they were all saying, Jesus, what? So I wrote a book because other people told me I was able. They were shocked that I hadn't. So all of a sudden I was an author and created this book, and it's amazing. So you have to be careful. The 3 or 4 people you hang around is the 3 or 4 people you become. And then to pull away from that, you'll have that lonely period that me and everybody else that's been in my positions gone through, where you're being more successful than the guys that used to hang out. So they're jealous. They don't want to talk to you. And old money in Texas, well, they've always had the money, so they don't want to talk to you. And you're in this middle area where the life becomes lonely, and you might not have friends. I haven't got friends. I have acquaintances, maybe one friend, if that. But yeah, because you're at that position that, you know, everybody is jealous about what you'll have, but nobody will be jealous how you got there.
Yeah.
There's two kinds of people in this world: the guys that love you for who you are, and the guys that want to be you. And the quicker you learn that, the quicker you'll stop
Yeah.
self-sabotaging.
It's that middle period is always the challenging one that's not talked about enough, where you've gone far enough away from your old self that your old crew or your old homies don't really relate to you anymore, and trying to drag you back into, their buildings in there, but you're not yet to that spot where the next group of people that you want to align with, you're not fully there yet. So
Yes.
it's that
Yes.
middle zone that gets often, like, it's like the middle of the marathon. Everybody's excited at the beginning of the marathon when the gun goes off and everybody's around and you're pumped up and
Yeah.
you can see the finish line. That's a nice spot too. That middle zone, when you're kind of only with the other, people who are huffing and puffing in that spot where there's not as many people on the sides of the street that are cheering you on. That's where it really, that's that
Oh,
zone that
true.
gets in there.
Oh, true, man. We have a couple of rules in the office for staff. One of them is, when you cross the door, you have to be top performing. You have to be smiling. You have to be complimenting. You have to, you've got to be. We have music on blasting at 8 o'clock when we come in, usually. And you come in and you've got to do a dance. Sometimes we put the cameras on and we put it on Facebook. And you've got to do this. You've got to be ready to go. And then we have a 9 p.m. walk. So we go on a miles walk, all the staff. We come back. Takes us about, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes. We get back and the first patient is at 10 o'clock. That is mandatory. It's not even a choice. That's what we do. We're getting the oxygen, we're getting ready for the day, and we're saving lives. That's what we do. If you turn up and you're not in the great mood or you are depressed, we send them home. Go home. This is not a place to come and bring your troubles. Now, it depends what the work day is like. There's an hour a day where I ask my staff, what's going on in your personal life? Do you need any help? Do we need to talk about anything? And if it is, we'll sit down and we'll talk it through. But nowhere in that. My job is not to go anywhere, to give a speech or a talk or here with my shit that I'm going to pass on to you. I do a talk every Saturday morning, and it's for homeless people. There's 100 people there every day in a room that holds 50 people. It's amazing. My dad died on the Thursday night. I got a call from the UK that my father had passed away. On Saturday morning, I was there doing this study. And people are like, this is unbelievable, Rob. I inspire people. I explain the science behind the big book and all that. It was just amazing. And it come off, and my sponsor said, back in the day, I don't go to AA anymore, but back in the day, and he said, oh my God, Rob, that's probably one of the best you've done. And I said, I know, right? It's awesome. Can I speak to you for 2 minutes? And he said, yeah, man. And everyone's like, yeah, Dr. Rob, amazing. I went into a quiet room and said, my father passed away on Thursday. And he was devastated. How the hell I've done this? Wait, you should be at home grieving. My job is not to grieve in front of you. My job is not to give you my woes and worry. That's not going to get you anywhere. I might be the only person you see today that's going to save a life. I might be the only thing you hear. And if I'm pissed and disgruntled and upset about something, you may go out and do something stupid. I'll finish on this great story that I always tell during conferences. Man goes to the Golden Gate Bridge, throws himself off, commits suicide. Well, I say a man, he's 22 years old he was. Police fish him out, get his next of kin. He goes back they go back to their house and they find, looking for next of kin, of course, find his wallet on him so they know his address. They're searching around for some kind of next of kin and they found a letter on the kitchen table. And it read, I'm going to walk to the Golden Gate Bridge, which was an hour away, by the way. So a long time to walk. I'm going to throw myself off and I'm going to kill myself. Unless on the way there, somebody says good morning, or nods their head, or smiles at me. In that case, I will stop right there. I'll come around and I'll try again tomorrow to live a good life. Question. How many people have you walked past today who's heading to the Golden Gate Bridge? You just never know, man. A smile, a nod, or whatever. I'm the annoying guy on the elevator. When the elevator's back, good morning, everybody. How we doing? Anybody a 10 out of 10 today? Oh my God, they're all looking in different directions. Nobody speaks until one. Yeah, I'm doing good. Brilliant. Oh, anybody else do? I'm that annoying guy.
I love it.
Because you never know the ripple effect of what that craziness on that elevator does for somebody.
Oh, Dr. Robb, I could talk to you for hours and hours. Seriously, this has been a joy to have you on. I've been a coach in fitness and strength for 17 years, and I always like to talk about the connection between all these different areas and stuff. And I think we get so into the tactics and the strategies to like improve our lives when not recognizing like oftentimes it is just the perception and just the connection that we have with other people that is really like the number one thing. This isn't that crazy difficult or complex. It's often much more simple. And seeing the work that you're doing, and as I mentioned before, knowing guys like Frank Parisi and Jason Turner there's certain people that are aiming up in this demographic that are really trying to make a big difference with a huge problem. And you are definitely one of those people. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your insights and your knowledge today.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say over there, Parisi and Turner, Jason Turner, do an amazing job. I know them both personally. Yeah, they're doing great jobs. And, all I want to do is be with people that are doing the same thing because life becomes easy. If you get rid of worry, then life's kind of pretty cool, no matter where you are.
I love it. I love it. If people, somebody's listening, maybe they know somebody too, they really need to get some help, or they just want to follow the work that you're doing, what's the best place that we can direct our audience to?
So if you're listening, guys, and not watching, spell my name with two B's. So it's ROBBKELLY.com is the website. Dr. Robb Kelly on any search engine in the world, and up I'll pop. All social medias. You can message us through Facebook and all that. Come join. We have a book out there. This is the book I wrote. It's the last thing my daughter said to me at the age of 3. 30 years later, she contacted me, and she's my lead therapist now in my Manchester office. Daddy, please stop drinking was the last thing. Got 10 copies here, free of charge, guys. I'll pay the mailing and everything. And there's one thing I want to say before we go, and that is, if you're that guy that we briefly talked about, if you're that guy or girl sat in a room right now where everyone's left you, you're on your own, you might have 2 kids with you, I don't know. If you're in that place that we talked about with the Golden Gate Bridge, 214-600-0210 is my personal cell phone number. I want you to text me. Give me immediately, I'll reply. But then I will arrange a day for you, probably that day or the latest the next day, where I'll call you and me and you will have a serious 15-minute pep talk. If I don't change your life in that 15 minutes, I'm going to send you $100 for wasting your time. See, the method behind that is this. I would rather spend 15 minutes with you today than hear of your death tomorrow.
Dr. Robb, thank you so much. Thank you for everything. Listeners, thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.